Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Reanimated. I am Vlad St. Valentine, and I am joined by Mr. Joseph Bowen.
How you doing?
And the hostess with the Ramosis, Mr. Caden Ramos.
How
are you, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent, sir. I've been dipping into the fortified wine tonight, so I'm feeling great.
Fun.
And we finally got to get to my favorite of the slasher movies, or I guess it's the end of the slasher movie. Some people would say, you know.
The 80s slashers.
Yeah, but it's my favorite of of our 80s, 70s horror movie monsters, that generation. And I gotta say, rewatching Nightmare on Elm Street, because it's been a while, I think part of me was watching it through rose-tinted glasses. I think my memories were tainted a little bit by the thing that actually affects most people, and that's what we talked about when we talk about most of these remakes, and that you have years of sequels and things, and they become something else in the the mythos of the annals of American mythos. So they take on all the characteristics of everything else surrounding them. So
you also imagine the everything from every one of the movies as basically one thing as well. So like I when it comes to like the Friday the 13th movies, I picture like all of Jason's kills through all of them as just a Jason movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just kind of what it falls into. You don't think about the rest of the film that all that shit was in.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And this one also is Wes Craven plays Freddy much more stark than anyone else does. He's much more serious, and it's very little screen time in this. Of all the characters and the way they evolved, I do enjoy Freddy Krueger as far as I like some of the interpretations of him later on. I like the more personal when Robert Englund got to really flex his muscles. But something I do give him credit for, because Wes Craven came back to the property for A New Nightmare, and Robert Englund, after doing 5 movies of being silly Freddy or being, more charming, showing the more personality off, went right back into the sinister, didn't talk much Wes Craven version of the character without an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes to show the man understands the character in every facet, in every way, and can play him sinister, can play him silly. He owns that character. And that's so much more apparent when we watch the Jackie Earle Haley adaptation in this new one. That honestly, as far as I'm concerned, you were talking about something in this book here about Tobe Hooper talking about
the pantheon of horror icons and basically the actors who made their characters and are on the list of being some of the greatest character actors in horror. Boris Karloff, Lou Chaney, Bela Lugosi, and Robert Englund.
So the point being that, you take some of these characters, and I guess you could make a case for Kane Hodder, but most people, obviously he was expendable to some people later on. Jason, Michael Myers, Leatherface, although we can argue that Leatherface was best played by Gunnar Hansen anyway. But to a lot of people, these characters are interchangeable. We can put anybody behind the mask and it doesn't really matter. The actor doesn't really matter ultimately.
A lot of them didn't do much speaking anyway. Jason never spoke. So it really didn't matter who you had under the mask as long as they looked brooding enough.
But I think we've proven with these remakes with Child's Play, the character of Chucky and the character of Freddy, Robert Englund and Brad Dourif are so important to those roles.
Yes.
No one else is don't get me wrong. Mark Hamill tried his best with that script. And I'm not taking anything away from Mark Hamill's voice acting work, but Brad Dourif is that character, just like Robert Englund is this character.
Yeah.
So, but they belong on the Mount Rushmore of people who, like you said, Lon Chaney and Lon Chaney Jr., Boris Karloff, and Bela Lugosi, and people who brought themselves to the characters in a way that they're inseparable from those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And they belong right up there in that pantheon in a way that I don't think anybody else in this generation was, or any other monsters, the actors who portrayed those other monsters. And don't get me wrong, Gunnar Hansen's portrayal in the first one is leaps and bounds above anybody else's. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Kane Hodder brought a level of just physical body work that gave Jason a persona for the first time and his own way of moving and his own way of being. That really, made him distinct, especially from Mike Myers, who is, just the other brooding silent guy. You know what I mean? So it really gave Jason his own hulking, menacing feel to him, a lot more bestial.
Yeah, and having the more human features, it gave a little bit more expression to Freddy in and of itself, and not having just a singular solid mask.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's something I guess you couldn't really get even as well with Chucky, since he's got, he's a puppet. So,
yeah.
And, and again, they tried to go for, it's funny, reading, some of the stuff off IMDb trivia about some of the things that Wes Craven wanted out of the original movie. Like, he wanted a happy ending. He didn't want the fake out ending. And he wanted some other features of Freddy Krueger, like, the jawbone showing through and all those other things. I'm like, I'm so glad that his ideas did not go through. It's sometimes it's like, Wes, I appreciate everything you've done, but
yeah,
that the happy ending is a terrible damn idea.
Well, there's a little excerpt in there too from Toby Hooper saying about Robert Englund is you could, just spend the whole day discussing different ideas for a scene. You have 800 ideas. You agree on something that night. The next morning he comes back with another 800 ideas to do the scene still. Like, he was constantly working on his craft, and it shows. It shows through all 8 movies.
We've gone over this as well, though, where the ownership of it just doesn't exist now. Yeah. Like, people don't own their characters like Robert Englund did with Freddy or anyone else did for their characters. Now it's just like, okay, well, I'm wearing this, I'm doing this, okay, whatever, pay me. But they made it their own.
You know who else could go in that group as an unsung hero, but actually belongs in that category?
Who?
Bill Moseley with Chop Top.
Yeah.
He's actually literally trying to own the rights to Chop Top as we speak.
We mentioned that when we talked about Leatherface.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Go watch that video, guys.
Link in the description below. Like and subscribe. Click the bell.
So our original starts off with not Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger, but the hands of the props master building the glove and stuff, because he was the only one capable of doing those things. Mm-hmm. We get our first shots, which contrasting that with the remake. The remake, again, these were all the Silver Dunes, Michael Bay produced remakes, and this was their last one after they did the Friday the 13th and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. And this was the last one, the 2010, because of the backlash. And it made money. It wasn't a commercial failure. It made money, but it was so poorly received that
it was just a cultural flop.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
And
I remember liking it too when it came out, but I also didn't watch it since then. So now I'm watching it again now, and especially watching it after the original one for that matter, you really notice that it just does not hold up.
Yeah, I like bits and pieces of it, mainly the dream transition sequences, but that was really about it. The graphics on it I enjoyed more than the story.
But as we said, the scene in the pharmacy is really cool where she's shifting in and out.
Yeah.
But it feels more like Silent Hill than a dreamscape.
It does.
Yeah.
But like I told you guys too, the guy that directed that film, his only claim to fame prior to that were music videos. So visuals, something that he kind of knows he does, which is why I thought the visuals were okay.
Visuals were great, but
dialogue was not existent whatsoever in that film at all. Like, just hearing how clunky they were, just trying to say these lines that clearly the pretty actors did not remember in the first place.
No, the WB actors and the lead actor, who I just wanted to punch. He had one of those Cillian Murphy faces. He just wanted to just punch. It's like that scene from Step Brothers, It's like,
yeah.
Anything to do with my face? No, man, nothing you can do about it. I just want to punch it. I'm sorry, dude. You did a great job. I just want to, like Dime Store Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. Yeah. He looked like the Great Value Walmart brand of Robert Pattinson. He tried to, he almost tried.
He had the best line though, whenever she's like, what are those drugs you just stole off the nurse's stand? He's like, what are you afraid to do? He's like, that's the least of my damn worries. You want some?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I can relate to that feeling at this point.
Absolutely. Movie. Yeah. Cause I want to do that through the film.
Just so you can stay awake and watch.
I was like, I need something to get me to power through this film. Why did I think I liked this back then?
No. And we haven't said it, but let's just go ahead and put it out there. I think the reason why this movie had such a backlash to it is because
they made Freddy Krueger pedophile.
Nobody wants to watch a franchise based on a pedophile. Nobody wants to keep coming back and watching a pedophile, no matter how damn charming they are. Nobody is watching a sequel to that 2010 movie. All right. It's fine as a one-off, where the pedophile gets defeated and he's a creepy little dude, but no one's coming back for a child diddler.
No.
Freddy Krueger in the very first movie was not he was called a child murderer, nothing else. And it wasn't established why he murdered the children. How long did it go until we figured out why he was killing kids? I know they talked about it in the
7, like 6 or 7.
Well, Freddy's Dead, they told us straight up. But I didn't know if it was before that because it's been a while since I watched the other ones. But in Freddy's Dead, straight up, he kills his wife by snapping her neck in a violent rage. They take his daughter away from him, so he took their kids away from him. And then they tracked him down and murdered him, and so he came back for them in the dreams. It was a revenge trip both ways by a man who was a freaking lunatic from the beginning.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to ask about, especially in the first one, and it kind of plays through the crucifix on the wall with Freddy Krueger and stuff like that, and they show her holding her crucifix and stuff. Doesn't play throughout the rest of the movie. No, like it starts at the beginning with a little bit of religious imagery, and like it's even in the Freddy Krueger song, "Grab Your Crucifix," you know. But like, there's nothing remotely demonic about the character. I'm going to take it to 6, and he like makes deals with like dream demons and crap like that. He's not a demon. There's no hell stuff. Like hell stuff doesn't. Like I know they try the holy water and crap on him, but it's a long list of failures in trying to get rid of Freddy Krueger.
Yeah,
you know. So it's like holy water. What the hell? I'm not a demon. You know. Essentially a dream ghost, I guess.
Yeah.
You got to classify him as anything, people.
Yeah, it's like, if anything, they only use that imagery just to prove it doesn't work.
But it doesn't even go that far with it.
But they just kind of show
They just show it twice and show her hand like it's going to mean something later on, and then they just forget about it.
I guess I'll hold this when I go to bed this one time, but the next time I go to bed, clearly I don't need it anymore.
Yeah, they just completely forgot about the crucifix crap. So like,
and they did it in both films, actually.
Yeah,
both films.
Just that there. So one thing I will say watching this back, and I was saying it, is the rose-colored glasses on this, and one of the things I remember watching this movie for the first time is how much this, like, there are certain things that like it's better than a jump scare. You can feel it start here and it slowly spreads. It's that deep kind of terror because it really creeps you out. The opening scene for what was the Ethan Hawke Blumhouse movie where they were watching the people getting killed in the movies and shit.
Sinister?
That scene was terrifying to watch because you're just watching a family slowly kick, and like the thought of it really is horrific. I remember when I first watched this movie, there were 2 moments like that. When you first saw the extendo arms and that distorted dimensions down the hall, that creeped me out. And then the body bag scene in this school both creeped me out. Rewatching this now as a 36-year-old man, I gotta say, man, I felt nothing. I felt hollow and dead inside. Maybe that's just because I'm jaded and cynical now, but rewatching it, I was like, man, they just didn't have the same effect on me. And again, maybe it's just years of watching these things, but I remember feeling like really deeply terrified by those images. And now the arms especially just look goofy when he comes running after in his little hobo run. It was just like, oh, that's silly.
That's funny.
Not even good hobo, like hobo with a shotgun hobo.
Yeah.
Hey, you will not speak ill of Rutger Hauer on this show, sir.
I liked hobo with the shotgun.
That man spared Han Solo's life on a rooftop before dying. It's still effective, especially when the legs raise up and she's dragged off with unseen, force and things like that. Still effective moments in the movie. And Nancy is so convincingly terrified throughout most of it.
Yeah.
I really like her portrayal of the character. Heather Langenkamp, love it.
Yeah.
And even again, when she comes back and plays herself in New Nightmare, she was excellent in that too. I really like that movie, man. I like most of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies though.
So do I.
Yeah. I mean, Freddy's Dead was like, when I was a little kid, was like one of my favorite movies. And again, these movies are schlocky, but some of these things have amazing visuals by really creative people who got to stretch their legs because they were making a horror movie without much supervision.
Yeah.
So, and watching Robert Englund explore the character with each director's vision and getting, as you were saying, constantly working on the craft and doing it in these different ways. It's
yeah, talking about
it just makes me so sad with the new one.
Unruly supervision. Robert Englund talks about doing some of the fire stunts in that book there, and the basement scene, the basement fire scene from the first one, they didn't properly ventilate it, so the stunt guy kind of got a little woozy.
I had many quarrels with that scene in the first place. Just like, oh, I guess I'll just set fire to the basement. And then I'll lock the door to the basement so it doesn't get to the rest of the house. It got to the rest of the house, Nancy.
Fire can't go through doors. It's not a ghost.
Yeah, we've been over this. So the one thing I had next was the Freddy coming out of the wall scenes. I actually really liked the way it was done in the original. I thought it looked really cool. Like, like the way it came out of the wall, like the practical effect looked really cool.
Yeah, and the sky is blue.
Yeah.
The CG one they did instead for the remake was not that good.
No, they're like, hey, call the guy who did the Sandman effects for Spider-Man 3. He's not busy. Is his cousin who works at the mechanic shop busy? Get him to do it.
It looked cheap. It did not go very well to me. Like it just also he in the original also he's like just kind of popped out just a little bit, just like right over the head of like the headboard.
Practical effect versus
he just barely
CGI.
just enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, a little bit can go a long way. In this case, like he's like stretching out through the place and his hand comes out and like the blades like tear through the like a hole, like it's a sheet or something, and then it just goes back into the wall and it's like
yeah, it's all way too fast.
It's done too fast. And you know what? If you want to do something like better with that idea, leave the holes in the wall from where the knives were, like from where the blades were. At least that's what like they walk like, oh shit, holes in the wall. Like do something like that. So it looks like that stayed.
You know,
but instead it's just nothing.
It reminded me of the Frighteners. That level of CG.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, it's a lot cheaper to buy a piece of spandex and stretch it across an empty hole in the wall than it is to pay someone to render something that looks like garbage.
Yeah.
And doesn't stand to the test of time.
Yeah.
So, like you do.
Yeah, because it's 11 years later and it looks like shit.
Looked like shit then.
But yeah, we walked to the one in the 80s like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
It's effective. It's great because he
so
does it slow and he builds it in. Yeah.
Dream Warriors, basically, when it comes to the television. The same kind of thing does initially.
Did they?
I'm guessing because it's the same kind of stretching effect through the, what.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they achieved it in a different manner because there's a lot more stretching going on, some sort of like latex or something. But the idea is the same.
Yeah.
Right. It's a practical effect that still looks cool today. Because again, guys, CG is not bad, but moderation to achieve the things you can't do practically. If you can do it practically first. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like Freddy Krueger's makeup was, makeup, but then they put some green on in the remake, and they put some green stuff on him so they could have certain parts of him CG animated and shit. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why waste your time? You didn't create an iconic look. You created one that was more realistic, but was harder to look at, and one I didn't want to go watch continually because it was very realistic to a burn victim. Matter of fact, they actually scale it back because that's one of the things they said. They didn't want it to be too grotesque to look at. Well, you missed the mark a little bit. And so speaking of the Blumhouse movies, we had the Insidious cameo.
Huh.
What's her name? Lynn Shane?
Lynn Shane. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had the Lynn Shane cameo as the teacher, and realized that her brother is the one who was the owner of New Line Cinema. It was his production house, and that's why she had the part in this and the little cameo. And apparently most of her earlier parts were just cameos and New Line Cinema stuff. Yeah. And now she's, the face of with Insidious is the one she's in.
Yeah.
Right?
She's in all the Insidious films. Yeah.
Yeah. She's great in those. So I can't see like now because, you didn't really notice her when you first watched this movie. Now seeing all the Insidious movies, she just comes traipsing across the screen as the teacher. And you're just like, holy shit.
The funny thing is I didn't notice the face at all at first. Like it was, for me, it was the voice. I'm like, I know that voice. And then like, oh, that's the chick from Insidious.
Yeah, it gets distracting now.
Yeah. There was the bathtub scene. I did a compare and contrast of that one in some sort.
Yeah, they did try and so when they made the 2010 movie, they thought they would pay homage by doing the most iconic scenes, or at least paying tribute to the most iconic scenes, because the blood fountain's a little bit different, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they had to do the bathtub hand, and what else did they do?
The coming out of the wall. There's a bath. Then there was the blood and the going up the walls kind of thing.
And it was breaking through a mirror at some point in time.
Yeah.
So, and apparently they got criticized for, ripping off the original movie with that stuff. I don't mind them paying homage to those things, but you're right. Just even the timing of the hand in the bathtub wasn't as good.
It wasn't as good, no, because it just like kind of popped up and it's gone. It's like, oh, well,
it was over a lot quicker.
It was a lot quicker. It lasted a lot longer than the original because like you didn't know because I don't know. It's like you were like, oh my God, what's he going to do? And, it just left you like hanging for a while. And I like being left hanging a bit. But the remake did not do that. It's just a really quick one and done kind of thing. It's like, okay, that scene's done. Mark it off the list. Next.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of these remakes. Something about them has lost the soul of what made the original thing good. And that's what we've said about pretty much all these Silver Dunes remakes have kind of like the soul is gone. It's the Transformers of these movies. Yeah. And that's, again, the influence of the producer, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Because, there's no soul in it whatsoever. You can tell. It's like, okay, we got to do this scene now. Okay, this scene's done. Okay, we got to copy this one next. Okay, cool. Make sure everything looks pretty, and the end. Don't care about really the dialogue or what the story was.
And visually, the remake has got better visuals than the original, because the original looks like a made-for-TV movie in a lot of places, and then like the rubber tongue puppet is just ridiculous. Like,
yes,
there's a lot of stupid, silly things, from the limitations of the time. And the mannequin mom in the last scene, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's always rough to watch. But you know it's coming, but it's like,
man. Apparently, like Wonder Woman 1984 has got a similar scene. She like swings in, picks up a couple kids, and goes rolling with them. It's obviously a dummy strapped to her chest.
Oh yeah. That whole movie should have not happened. Yeah. Even my mom, I watched it with my mom, and she just like, when it was over, she looked at me and goes, well, that was a movie.
So was Ishtar.
It's like, even coming from like my mother, she's like, that was not a good film.
Technically Big Money Hustlers is a movie. So something else about the Freddy Krueger movies that if you really want to tie a through line through these is that something I like about these flicks is that Freddy, more so than any of the other characters, toys with his food.
Mm-hmm.
He toys with everyone, even because there's all the last girls for the most part aren't really survivors. You know what I mean? They try these grand things to try and kill him off, and he kind of lets them think it works before turning it on them the last scene. Because Nancy was like, I just turned my back on you, and he like phases out, and then the very next scene is just over the top. It's bright, it's beautiful, and then they're dead. Mm-hmm. Like, she never won. She was never at any place in winning. But what they did establish from the beginning is that you can pull things out of the dream. And what do they do in the very last movie when they kill Freddy? They pull him out of the dream to kill him. Mm-hmm. That's the way you do it in the beginning. That's the way you do it. And it took them 6 movies to actually go back and try it again. Something they established in the first film. Mm-hmm. And the rest of it was just people trying bullshit, holy water, burying his bones, all other crap, which,
Oh, then they try to do the whole like psychic girl go in there and fight him on his turf. I think that's Dream Warriors. Yeah. And they had like a whole crew of like psychic kids.
Oh yeah. They tried all sorts of crap, and he would toy with them and let them think they won until he just ultimately turned it on them in the end. That's kind of one of the things that makes Freddy kind of cool. There was never no one ever won against him. He toyed with people until the very end when it took his daughter to actually bring him out and, shove a stick of dynamite in his chest.
Yeah. And no, he plays it up in Freddy versus Jason too. At the end, Jason thinks he won, carrying off the severed head of Freddy and just winks at the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want one of the Freddy Krueger Cadillac convertibles though, with the Freddy Krueger top. I totally want one of those. Not gonna lie.
It couldn't even close on the car correctly.
Really, it slammed down a lot harder and quicker than they thought it was, and scared all the actors. So their reactions were real because it came down harder and faster than they thought it was going to.
Then didn't actually close or anything, didn't lock or anything like that. It just kind of just flapped a bit as they just kind of drove away.
No, it flapped, and then they showed the locks going down on it.
It was still flapping when they drove away.
Well, like, come on.
That was flapping.
You want consistency? Shut up.
That's one thing I focused on entirely. It's like, okay, that's closing and it's bouncing and it's flapping and they're driving away and it's still flapping. Oh, that's cheap. Yeah, I also had another note saying, why is she randomly going into an attic? Oh, because she has to find a box of things to move the plot along. Quotations, it was all a dream.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine.
I don't think that bit was a dream, the slashed up dress, because the implications, like they showed her back later, there's like little scratches on it. So like he had slashed at her for real in real life. Because I was like, why would she have a slashed up dress? Freddy Krueger wasn't around. He wasn't alive when she was a little, or he wasn't dead when she was a little kid. Why would that be on there? But then, okay, he was doing fucked up stuff to him or he was doing messed up stuff to him in the cave or whatever.
Yeah, the cave that apparently no one could ever find. But it was there behind the sign that says "Keep Out."
Dude, the guy's dad was too busy fighting, Christopher Lambert for to be the one.
You mean Lord Raiden?
Sorry. Lex Luthor and Lord Raiden had to fight it out.
Just looking at some of these notes I made. Help me arrest the mean murder man, Daddy. Followed by, now apparently Dream Nancy is Kevin McAllister, but she forgot Buzz's tarantula. Yeah, trying to get her daddy, come arrest the mean man. And then also I was thinking, because that was after Johnny Depp was killed, and the ambulance shows up, the ambulance pulls away. I'm thinking, what? Did they haul him out in glass jars? Like
yeah, what was the ambulance for with Johnny Depp?
Boy, at that point, he's liquid.
Well, that's what the cop says. Yeah, that's what the cop says, though. When they pull up and they're pulling out the stretcher, he's like, you don't need a stretcher, you need a mop.
Did you go with a turkey baster?
So what, did the ambulance just go, nothing for us to do, and they just leave? Or did they just have like a snow shovel and like gotta shove them into the back? Like
no, they went and got one of those sham wows and rung him out to a jar.
Sandwich in, ring him out there.
Yeah, that's the only way you're getting out of the carpet, man. That thing absorbs everything. It's a piece of felt. It doesn't fucking work.
Don't worry. You'll be okay. You'll be a pirate later.
What?
Johnny Depp.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was, what? That's where the sham wow guy. I was like, he just got arrested for prostitution. Like,
but speaking on that ending scene, Nancy calls her dad. He's like, "Hey, come over in 20 minutes," and then she home alones the house.
Yeah.
This is our house.
That's the thing. Like she's like drilling the hole like into the light bulb and shit.
Like that's all gonna take more than 20 minutes, Nancy.
She's putting
come
up
on now.
all of her Home Alone stuff. That's I'm like, she forgot Buzz's tarantula.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, somewhere Macaulay Culkin's watched this week going, not enough traps.
Not enough traps.
Not enough traps. Gotta plan ahead.
Which one came first? Did was that first or
no? That was Home Alone was like 89.
Was it 89? Okay.
89 or 90. 89, I think. Yeah. Yes. I will give the new movie the sound design, especially the metal scraping. Him fidgeting with the claws, because I was thinking to myself, if I had those on, I would be doing that constantly too.
Yeah, I'd be messing with those. I think that's one thing that he did a good job playing that character. Is he kind of fiddled with them more than Robert Englund
He's
did.
not a bad actor. He always commits to it, and he does have experience playing child molesters and psychopaths.
Yeah, he's got
But he just looks like a damn creep, poor guy. But it's like Mark Hamill. He did the best he could with what he was working with, and I think under better circumstances, maybe he could have played that sinister version of Freddy just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he can pull off silly fun Freddy the way that Robert Englund can.
No, he's a little bit too intense the way he does everything. Even whenever because his first start was in the Bad News Bears. He was a kid that smoked and drank and everything, but like even then he played that kind of like edgier, not comic relief type character. So
everything about this movie was edgy. Like they even said like the Dark Knight's grittiness was kind of a thing for this, because they cast the girl from the Dragon Tattoo who is married to Joaquin Phoenix. What a dour house that is, right? Like everything is so damn serious, I imagine. So you definitely got someone who was a serious actress here to play this role, which God bless your heart for being in this movie. What were you and Connie Britton doing here? Seriously, y'all had better things to do. Holy shit.
She carried pretty much all the acting in the entire film.
She totally did.
The rest of everyone else, like all the,
but my question
the rest of the teenagers, definitely not.
But why did they make her the moody, artistic outsider? It added nothing to it. Nancy in the original was just the average teenager, which was just fine. It didn't add or subtract anything to make her the unique rebel. All I got were pictures of Not Another Teen Movie where she's like, I listened to Bikini Kill. The remake was right up there with all the rest of the Michael Bay mans. It missed the mark because I don't think it really understood what it was doing. It was a victim of these things being a part of the mythology already and having these ideas already built up around them. And so you didn't really look at the heart of the character, what made the originals so great and what made the originals able to spawn, a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And, I talked about, they were greenlit a sequel after, the financial success of it, and they were talking to Jackie Earle Haley about, reprising the role before the social backlash from it. And it's like, well, yeah, what the hell did you think was going to happen? We were all willing to go with this movie up until that Polaroids were found. When you confirm that man was diddling kids, that's it, man. No one's going to watch him over and over again play this character. And Jackie Earle Haley is not charming enough to overcome that. Matter of fact, no one's charming enough to fucking overcome that.
No.
So, not even Robert Englund, which is why they never went full pederast with him,
Right.
And I'm not a big fan when they, Like, I think there was one bit. One was the one, was it New Nightmare or whatever, where they showed him like licking the back of the children's pictures and putting it on there where they were really trying to play up that Freddy was a pedophile. There was one with Robert Englund where they kind of went that way with it a little bit.
Mhm.
Or I think it was beginning of Jason versus Freddy.
Yeah.
Where they did that a little bit. It was like, oh, y'all are dancing too close to that line. And that was enough. You know what I mean? That's probably one of the things that bugged me the most about Jason versus Freddy. It's like, guys, he's not a pedophile. He's on a revenge trip and he's a psychopath because his mother is a nun who was raped by 1,000 inmates of an insane asylum. So, great backstory.
Yeah.
And his, stepdad was Alice Cooper.
I did write this down because you told me to, and after I made the joke watching the film, working title for this movie was probably Gaslighting Your Children.
Still funny.
There's a lot of that, like, no, there's nothing wrong. I don't know who Freddy is, but I got his glove in our furnace downstairs. It's been in this basement since how long? 15 years? 10, 15 years?
Keeping the glove was freaking weird. It's like, Mom, are you a sociopath? Are you a psychopath yourself or a serial killer? You have to keep trophies? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. One thing I did enjoy from the original, I did make a note of that. I'm surprised I made a good note. When she finds souvenirs of her friends, she finds a crucifix that Tina had. Mm-hmm. They also finds a switchblade that the boyfriend had.
Rod Lane.
Yeah. And then also she finds headphones. Johnny Depp had those headphones on.
Yeah.
She finds all those when she's, wandering around after, everyone's been killed. She finds all that stuff. It's like, that's kind of cool. It's like he's keeping the souvenirs of them, I guess, for her to find.
Yeah, as opposed to the remake where he just has their bodies strung up in the boiler room.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because in the remake, they just had the body.
Where he does that weird, like, spins her out and shows her and then whips her back with, like, some, like, karate noises. Whoosh, whoosh.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Some weird choices in that.
I preferred the souvenir part, like where it's like little hints, like, oh yeah, here's this crucifix, like brought that back. It's like, that's good because they put thought into it. This one's like, here's their bodies. Ooh,
all flash, no heart.
Bodies. Yeah,
it's you can it's like, man, these movies are like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's like this like alien form trying to recreate something they're trying to mimic something they see and recreate it perfectly, and it's just off.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It's not quite right.
All these movies are Donald Sutherland screaming.
Yeah, they're screaming at the end. Yeah. I did have a note saying Rufus the dog's a better actor than the girl playing Chris.
Yeah, he played dead all right.
That's a good dog.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good dog. I liked him.
Yeah, but 40-year-old WB teenagers, some decent visuals, a character you can never get behind for a continued franchise. And an actor who just does not have the charm and wit of Robert Englund, even though he is a great, great dramatic actor.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was just doomed to fail like the rest of them. I'm surprised they got 2 Texas Chainsaw Massacres. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got progressively worse. If Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the first one they did, right? Then they did Friday the 13th. And then they did.
And Friday the 13th I thought was okay in its own right, but it was
the least offensive of them.
Of the 3, yeah, definitely. Was
as far as the treatment of the monster or of the main character.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Friday the 13th was the least offensive of all of them.
Yeah.
All right, man. Final thoughts.
Watch 3 and 4. I watched the original 7.
Yeah,
they're all good. Robert's a great guy. This book I actually got autographed from him at was it Frightmare or Comic-Con that we went to?
Comic-Con, dude. Let's see.
Yeah.
Here.
So I paid for an autograph, and he actually drew I have an original Robert Englund drawing.
Oh.
That was 2014. Yeah, no, he was real nice, real great, fun to talk to.
Oh yeah. Although the people in front of us were getting a picture with him and they were taking too long, and he's like, "Take the picture, you fucking bitch!" And he went full Freddy Krueger on it. It was wonderful.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, we were all giggling. He was a sweet dude.
Yeah.
All right, final thoughts on the movie?
Watch the originals and the sequels. You can skip the remake.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else, man?
No, that's it.
This is one of my favorite series, and going back and watching the original, it was definitely a little disappointing to not love it as much as I remember loving it. And maybe that'll be the case if I go back and watch all the sequels again, but I don't remember. I remember having fun watching all these because the dream sequences allow you to flex your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And that is honestly, I think, the heart of this series outside of just Robert Englund's magnanimous personality, that you want to watch more of him as this character. But on top of that, the ability to be creative and do weird things and out of the box things, give this character legs, give this series legs in a way that having a hulking monster with just stalking people down can get repetitive. So again, go and watch the whole original series. Yeah. If you go get that box set that's got the first 7 on there, or even the one with Jason versus Freddy, that one's just fine too. The cool, weird, like Alice in Wonderland, bad CGI caterpillar, the dime store, Michael Graves, the little brother from Titus is on there. It's a hodgepodge of just weird bullshit. And it works. It works. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode of Reanimated. Please please subscribe, and stay tuned. We'll be doing more episodes. I think we got what's coming up next.
Coming up next, we have our Valentine special, My Bloody Valentine.
My Bloody Valentine. I remember going and watching that in the theater, the remake, when they did the 3D, and being super impressed. It was the first time they had good 3D, and then about a month later, we all just started getting headaches and hating it.
Yeah. That was I saw too. Yeah.
That was the only movie I ever enjoyed on 3D. After that, I was just like, oh God, why am I subjecting myself to this? All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Like, subscribe, like I said a second ago, and say hi to your mother for me.